Coming up on Valley News Live, a crash overnight resulted in a car crashing into the new Island Park pool. We'll tell you all about it. Plus, some House members are calling for discussions to begin on possibly impeaching President Biden. And a spokesperson for the Israel military said that they have killed the Hamas commander. All these stories and more. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Zoe Jones. One man has been arrested after crashing his vehicle into the Island Park pool in downtown Fargo. According to officials, at approximately 2:04 a.m. this morning, officers were dispatched to a crash at 1st Avenue South and 7th Street South. A vehicle went through a fence surrounding the construction area of a pool and rolled into the unoccupied pool. The driver was Matthew Thomas, a 42-year-old Fargo resident. He was the lone occupant of his vehicle, and he was taken to a local medical facility to be evaluated. Thomas was arrested for driving under the influence. However, jail staff told Valley News Live that he was never brought in, most likely due to the jail being full at this time. Switching gears, it appears we may have some snow coming our way. Let's check in with First Alert Storm Team's Shelby Ebertowski. Shelby?
Well, Zoe, right now, although that snow is arriving tomorrow, we do have some fog and some breezier winds up in Grand Forks, as you can see at the home of Economy Skycam, with temperatures still in those 20s. A few of us already starting to dip into those teens. 19 up in Hallock, Langdon, and Devils Lake. Still warmer here in Fargo, sitting at 30 degrees, with some areas as you get closer into areas of north central part of Minnesota, still above freezing, both sitting at 34 in Roseau and even 35 in Baudette. Still with that wind chill temperatures starting to feel a lot more like those single digits. Feels like 9 up in Devils Lake, 17 in Oaks, with some dense fog advisories already issued. Now, this is just for Marshall County area, and it does expire tomorrow at 8 a.m. But we're already starting to see some fog arrive in the valley and cause some visibility issues in the northern valley along that Howlock, Cavalier, Grafton area. Zoe, we are just down to 3 miles, and even in the southern valley, we have just quarter of a mile. But I'll have that fog forecast and that snow coming up for you in a few moments.
All right, thank you, Shelby. A Fargo man was arrested this weekend for fleeing an officer. According to officials, on December 1st at 1:35 a.m., 42-year-old Matthew Paul Sander of Fargo was driving on County Road 9 when an officer noticed he had no license plate. The officer tried to then pull him over, and that's when Sander drove off. He was arrested by Lake Park, Minnesota, and he was charged with fleeing a police officer and driving after revocation. A West Fargo family is seeking the public's help in finding their service dog that is now missing. The dog's name is Ruby, and she's from the Osgood area. She only has her red service dog collar on as of now, and as of 6:26 p.m., a similar dog was spotted southwest of the roundabout on Cheyenne Street and 76th Avenue, just north of Horace. If you see Ruby or have any information on her whereabouts, you can call the number on your screen. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he thinks he has the votes to launch a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. Johnson made that comment on Saturday, insisting that such a move has, quote, become a necessary step. In an appearance on Fox News alongside New York Representative Elise Stefanik, another member of the House GOP leadership, Johnson said he plans to bring a vote on impeachment. Johnson alleges that the White House has been stonewalling the 3 GOP-led House committees driving the impeachment inquiry. And he says, quote, a formal impeachment inquiry vote on the floor will allow us to take it to the next necessary step. The White House has characterized House Republicans' impeachment inquiry efforts as illegitimate. On Friday, Republicans leaving a closed-door conference meeting indicated that a vote could come as soon as early as next week. Vice President Kamala Harris announced new funding for climate action on Saturday at the COP28 summit in Dubai. Harris said that the U.S. would pledge another $3 billion to the Green Climate Fund, the main finance vehicle to help developing nations adapt to the climate crisis and cut fossil fuel pollution. Rob Kirkpatrick has the latest on why the United States faced criticism earlier in the week from climate advocacy groups.
The clock is no longer just ticking. It is banging.
This warning by Vice President Kamala Harris at the UN Climate Summit in Dubai on Saturday. She called for transformative change to make up for lost time in fighting global warming.
We must treat the climate crisis as the existential threat that it truly is.
Harris said the U.S. would pledge another $3 billion to the Green Climate Fund, a fund that helps developing nations adapt to the climate crisis and cut fossil fuel pollution.
It's so important that in this decisive decade for climate action, we have accountability in addition to commitments and transparency. We've got to get the receipts.
The move by the U.S. to contribute billions of dollars to the fund comes after criticism that America wasn't doing enough.
Today they are putting money. It means tomorrow their whole story will have changed because they realize that we are unrelenting. They realize that we're not going to shut up.
123 countries signed a declaration formally acknowledging the link between climate change and health. The declaration covers a myriad of issues, including reducing emissions and increasing the amount of money devoted to the climate crisis.
I know we will build a cleaner, healthier, and more prosperous world for this generation and for generations to come.
I'm Rob Kirkpatrick reporting.
Switching gears, former Congressman George Santos is blaming a lie from another lawmaker on his expulsion from Congress. Santos says he was accused by Republican Representative Max Miller, who claimed that he and his mother were defrauded by Santos, and that ended up costing his seat in the House. Santos said Miller sent out the accusation shortly before Friday's vote, but that he didn't have time to refute it. Miller stands by his claims and says he even has evidence that he was provided to relevant authorities. The ethics panel found that Santos blatantly stole from his campaign, including for travel, Botox, and even OnlyFans. Santos is now the 6th member of the House to be expelled from Congress. The Israeli military said today that they had killed the Hamas commander of the Shadi battalion with an airstrike in Gaza. An army spokesperson said the commander directed militants to carry out raids into southern Israel on October 7th, in which 1,200 people were killed and more than 200 were taken hostage. He also led battles in the Shadi area of Gaza in the past month. The Israeli army released video that said it to show the strike that killed the commander, though officials were not able to confirm the date or location that the video or photo was taken. The Israeli army spokesperson Daniel Hagari said in a press conference, quote, "Today the IDF assassinated with the guidance of intelligence from Israel's domestic security agency and intelligence branch, along with the Southern Command, the commander of the Shadi brigade with a fighter jet. The Shadi commander was the one who led the battle in the past month in the Shadi area. Under his command, raids were also launched into Israeli territory into the brutal massacre on October 7th. Back home, a teenager was killed on Saturday due to a landslide at the state park in southern Minnesota. The Blue Earth County Sheriff's Office said officers got a 911 call just before 5 p.m. that there had been a landslide at the Minnopa State Park Falls area. The caller informed officers that someone was trapped under the collapsed earth. Emergencies workers located the body of a 19-year-old male who officials said was dead when they found him. The incident is currently under investigation. Exciting news for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as he announced today that on Saturday he was elected the chair of the Democratic Governors Association. Walz said that in his new role he will, quote, be leading the fight to elect Democratic governors across the country, leaders who will help us stand up to the forces of hate and bigotry that are on the march across the country. And it was a busy weekend for North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum and Minnesota Congressman Dean Phillips as the two were seen campaigning throughout New Hampshire. Yesterday, Burgum hosted a town hall in Salem, New Hampshire. He left the scooter behind and appears to be doing well. Despite Burgum not qualifying for the third presidential GOP debate, he still believes he's just as much in the race as his opponents. Now, Phillips started his day out in Portsmouth, where he dropped into several businesses for meet and greet events. During a gaggle with reporters, Phillips also talked about his plan for a national health insurance plan. To stay in the loop with all of the news you need, be sure to download the VNL News app. You can get push alerts, updates to stories, and much more. You can download and use it for free. Just search VNL News in the App Store today. Now, today is the last day for community members to complete the long-range facility plan survey that was sent out by the Fargo Public Schools. The survey provides opportunities to rank and share priorities for investments at FPS buildings, including but not limited to safety and security, accessibility and inclusivity, building preservation, community engagement and partnership, and other specific renovations and improvements. The survey closes at midnight. Also, the long-awaited Fargo Dome vote will be taking place this week on Tuesday, December 5th. The polls will open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. Any qualified elector of the city of Fargo is eligible to cast their ballot at any one of the locations you see on your screen on Election Day. Now, 60% of voters must vote yes for the project proposal to pass. Now, if passed, there would be an additional 0.25% sales tax and an additional 3% lodging tax on hotel and motel rooms. This would raise Fargo sales tax to 7.75%. We will have all of the coverage you'll need right here on Valley News Live. Later on Valley News Live at 10, things are shaking up in the airline business as one major company has brought out another. We'll tell you all about it in just a few minutes.
And we have mostly clear skies for most of us in North Dakota, some cloudy skies in north central part of Minnesota. But over the next couple hours, not only are we going to see that increase in fog, but also some cloud coverage as well. But don't worry, we have some snow arriving tomorrow, and I'll give you that forecast for you coming up next.